everybody. Hey grown-ups out there caring for some budding naturalists. I am in my sit spot today. My sit spot, as you might notice, is among the ferns. See what I did there? And I was thinking a little bit, hi Charlie, about building that rhythm and routine early on in your nature-based, outdoor, place-based, wild schooling, unschooling adventure that you might be taking right now. And one of those rhythms and routines I like to start early is building time for a nature journal and spending time in a sit spot. Now, I did a sit spot video a little while back, probably way back in March, but for those of you who aren't familiar, a sit spot is really just a spot that you visit regularly, where you make observations about what's going on around you, you take in the environment, you become part of the environment, and you kind of get a special sneak peek at what goes on in nature when you're really keyed in and paying attention and not just tromping through the woods or mowing your back lawn. You're really focused and you're paying attention. Maybe you have those owl eyes and deer ears turned on. Sit spots are so important for my nature connection practice, and I think they're really great for kids too, especially right now when we've all gone through a crazy whirlwind of changes. We all feel unsure. We feel like we don't have a rhythm or routine. Kids can really latch on to something like this. In my previous videos, I've talked about something called childhood passions, which are basically just the activities and games and play that children intrinsically engage in without any sort of adult direction or adult guidance. It might be playing with mud or rolling down a hill, building a tree fort. There are all sorts of childhood passions, and having a kind of small world or a safe space in nature is one of those childhood passions. Now, I don't know about you, but I definitely had some of those small world safe places when I was growing up. They felt like they belonged to me. I got to see exciting, cool things. I would go there to just think, just sit and think and process. And it was a really important part of my childhood, and it still is today, part of my adulthood, a really important part of how I connect to the great outdoors. Now, sit spots I think can feel a little intimidating because how on earth are you going to get your 4-year-old or your 6-year-old or your 13-year-old to just sit outside for an extended period of time? Seems daunting. I get it. Just know that sit spots can be a really simple practice. There are no regulations around sit spots. There's no expectations around sit spots except for the expectations you give yourself. And grown-ups, kids should be giving themselves the expectations, not you. Let them decide how they want to use their sit spot and how they want to be in their sit spot. Now, I've been doing sit spots with kids for a little while, and I find that a gentle introduction is the best way to start. And telling stories can be a fun way to gently introduce the concept, but also build a little excitement, build a little inspiration. So as the adult in this nature-based adventure, I highly recommend go out and try your own sit spot. How on earth are you going to teach a practice that you've never done yourself? So after watching this video, take a moment, go outside, find a sit spot. It could even be your back porch while you sip your cup of coffee in the morning. That's a totally reasonable and understandable sit spot. But kind of set an intention. Give yourself a goal of spending 1 day a week at your sit spot for 5 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, 1 minute at a time. And just get to know that practice yourself before you introduce it to your budding naturalist. Now, once you have that practice in your own personal daily life, you can start to tell stories to your littles about the exciting things you see at your sit spot. And that might build a little excitement. They may want to go out and find a sit spot where they can sit right on top of the grass and use owl eyes to watch a spider crawl through its web or build its web, or maybe watch a daddy long leg use its long legs to crawl over the grass. Telling little stories about what you see at your sit spot can really help get kids excited about putting this into practice in their own lives. Now, another thing that I've done with kids that can just make the transition to a sit spot a little bit easier is give them, oh, I'm all tied up, a length of string, and let them find some natural materials, maybe acorns, a pine cone. If you have wooden beads or regular beads, you could use those as well, and let them create a sit spot charm. So kids can take these sit spot charms with them every time they go. And kids who maybe are having a hard time sitting still can look at their sit spot charm, fiddle with it, add natural items to it, or maybe it's just something to have in your hands and kind of move around as you sit and observe the space around you. So getting started with sit spots is not that tricky or overwhelming as it might seem. Just start the practice yourself, see what stories you can come up with, build that inspiration, make a sit spot charm, and then make that part of your daily nature routine. Go out and visit your spot every day, sit, let the environment around you adjust to your presence, and then just notice and observe and see what you see. Now, another practice I like to introduce is the nature notebook. And some of you probably watched my nature notebook video from way back in March at the beginning of quarantine. These nature notebooks are super simple to make, and they're really easy to carry around with you in a nature backpack or even in your kid's backpack. But then how on earth do you get them to write in them? Nature notebooks are great, but you gotta use them. Now, when I'm introducing writing in my nature notebook, I sometimes give kids prompts, depending on how old they are. I might ask, what's one thing you noticed today? And kids can draw it or write about it. If you have a slightly older naturalist, you might want to challenge them to sketch their nature name critter, take observations about their sit spot, draw a map. There are tons of ways to kind of prompt your budding naturalist to make some really awesome nature journal entries. Now, another way I like to kind of build that inspiration is through books, is through having something beautiful to look at right in front of you. Now, I shared my Gerald Durell Naturalist book in my mushroom video. That one is beautiful. It has awesome pictures that can really get the brain juices flowing. Then I thought I'd share a few more that I really like. This Keeping a Nature Journal by Clare Walker-Leslie and Charles E. Roth is great for grown-ups who are investigating the world of nature journals with their budding naturalists. This shows you how to make a journal entry, how to sketch. It's fantastic. I also like to just bring out books that have great pictures of animals and show natural history or show me how to sketch the things that I'm seeing. Now, I just moved to Pennsylvania, so I don't have any great Pennsylvania books yet, but Naturally Curious by Mary Holland is probably my favorite book of all time. I carry this book with me everywhere I go. It is a month-by-month field guide to natural happenings, specifically in New England, which Pennsylvania, we're pretty close. We have some of the same natural happenings. So placing this out while you're doing your nature journals and just having that inspiration available is fantastic. I also really like Botany in a Day by Thomas J. Elpel. This one is also great. It shows you the different plants, it teaches you about them, and it's great to kind of sketch from if your naturalist is feeling a little lack of confidence around their sketching skills or drawing skills. Just do some copying. Now, lastly, I also like to read books that kind of inspire taking nature walks or recording your observations. This one by Neecy Twinem, My Hike in the Forest, is great for building that culture of taking a walk and making observations. You can even see right here on the cover, there's a nature notebook. So using books to build that culture, to build that routine and inspire is simple. It's easy. You don't really have to do anything other than provide the materials and join your naturalist in the art of nature journaling and in the excitement. So those are just a couple of things I thought of that could kind of enhance your nature curriculum this year and help you get started with some sit spots and some nature journals. I'll be back with more ideas, more ways to connect, and if you have any questions, topics you want me to make a video on, please do not hesitate to get in touch, and I'll see you soon.
Ooh, 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 ooh.
Bye everybody. Stay curious out there.